I feel that spring has really sprung now, and I'm going to just show you a few things in the garden which you haven't seen for a bit, and just show you what's really exciting me about this spring. Well, number one is this lovely Phillyrea communis, the fennel, and it's a perennial. I must have had it for about 5 or 6 years, and strangely I've got a seedling of it way over in the garden over there, which I'm really enjoying. But it's been all through winter. You see this lovely basil foliage, and then in the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks it shot up and formed this amazing feat here. And the birds love the seeds. I enjoy it, and it looks really scrotty until maybe the last week, and then you just cut it down when it looks really past it. But in front of it, in my gravel here, I love this bit of gravel. I keep changing it, adding different things. So in front of it are these Helleborus Sternii, and these have been looking good for weeks, but now they're looking a wee bit big draggled. And what I tend to do is just cut off the really manky leaves when I got a moment and leave them, and then when in about 3 or 4 weeks time, when it looks less good, I just cut it right back like that, and you see you've got the basil foliage coming up, and so these will all have that, and so it then rejuvenates itself, and you remove all this and you think, why didn't I do it a couple of weeks ago? But it's a great plant. It overseeds, so I'm forever picking them up and chucking them out or giving them to people. And I've been putting a lot of these irises in my gravel now, and I'm really looking forward to how they're going to establish and really transform the area. And my tulips, you can see, are just coming out. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I popped those in January, end of January. It was actually quite late because you always get the bargains in tulips at the end of January, and you get them for a fraction of the price, especially wholesale. And so I often put loads in here and then some in the meadow as well. And although I'm being mean and I'm saving money, I think there are lots of advantages. Partly because with wet you get tulip fire, and so the longer they're in the wet soil, the more likely they are to get this botrytis. And when you get botrytis, you can't grow them again in that same soil for about 7 years or so. And also the squirrels aren't likely to get them if you leave them later. They've got less time to munch upon them. And so I do the cayenne pepper bit, and that really helps. And then over there I see those tulips are coming up really nicely as well. And it's just lovely to see springing coming in the garden. The Stipa gigantea still looks presentable. I'll just leave it until it looks much less presentable, and then I'll hack those down and I'll get a whole load more coming up. So I've got a lot of salvia in this garden, and my salvia is just starting to grow. So at the weekend, not very well, I just quickly cut off the deady bits, just down. I mean, it was sort of like this and looking a bit scratty. I leave the stems on over winter, and then I cut it back about now when it bursts into growth, and that rejuvenates it. Now with my lovely salvia hadspen over there, which is way taller than me, I've actually cut, it's just about starting to grow, so I'm just going to cut it back down to about there, till where the green is in the stem. I could cut it right down and it would zoom back up, but I'm just playing around with it really, but I'll cut most of them down to that sort of level if I can without walking all over the alliums. But then the salvia over there, I've got salvia amistad, and what I've heard is that a lot of people think they can't grow it because they're too wet and it's not hardy enough. You can't see mine because it's right down below ground, but it is in this area and it will shoot back up very shortly. But other people say, and I think this is correct, it is actually quite winter hardy even when it's wet, but it's the slugs that get it. So if I was on wet soil, I would clear around it a bit and I would use some organic slug pellets just to make sure it stays up. But it's a wonderful plant, and I've got the Amistad pink form as well, which I also like. Come and have a look at my Perovskia. So here I've got a lot of Perovskia, Russian sage, and you see it's just started into growth. So what I'll do this weekend is I'll come back and just cut it back to where it's coming into growth. Now this has gone a bit mad, to be honest. I've got the smaller version of the Perovskia. I've just planted along the front, but I'm going to actually remove this, I think. Perovskia is a great plant and I love it, but it's not right here. It came here before the birds, and now I think it looks a bit bonkers zooming up between the birds. So I've got this nice lacy blue, you can't really see because it's only just bursting into the life along the front, which is much lower. And I'm going to get that, and I'm going to move all this. I'm just going to dig it up and put it somewhere else because it does look a bit mad. Come and have a look at the drive. So the drive's coming on. If you remember, we cut down the trees and we had grass here. And so now I've just replanted it really with a load of bulbs and other things from the garden. And I want to keep it all quite natural. So I had a big disappointment here. My biggest was winter aconite, Eranthus himalis. I ordered these little corms, popped them into plug trays to grow them on, and then they were growing nicely, all in flower, and I popped them in here and thought, great, the vermin won't get them. And then the rabbits came and ate off all the heads. So I'm just hoping that they'll eat the tops and they'll still have energy in the bottom to come back next year, and then I'll watch for them and I'll actually have to net them. But things like this Helleborus have done really well, both here. The crocus have done okay, although they've been nibbled down, I see. Got some nice little fritillarias coming up. And then we've got these erythroniums. And these erythroniums are really, they look quite natural, but they're showy in a way. And I find these grow anywhere. They even compete with ivy, which amazes me. So you'll see them bursting out of huge sheets of ivy. Ferns are doing nicely. The lovely little fern there, which I love, that Phillyrea scolopendron. And the amelanchier, which I moved from the yard, it's very limey soil, and amelanchiers don't really like limey soil, but you can see the rabbits started chewing them. So I've had to guard the stems. They've only been in 6 months or so, so I will water these in dry periods. But I'm really liking this naturalist look of the drive, and I planted out the hollies, which I grew from seed from a client's garden. They had the most wonderful bearing holly, very old, I don't know what it is, and I've planted seedlings from those down here and protected them from the rabbits. This is absolutely rabbit heaven. You know, it's like Watership Down. You come up here in the night and they're everywhere. So it's interesting to get things going. And now where there are gaps, I'm going to sow in a few sort of natural looking annuals, I think, for this year. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'll buy some sort of thing and just sprinkle them in. Poppies, probably lift some poppies maybe from elsewhere in the garden, just little poppies, and stud them in. I think would be quite nice. Anyway, come and have a look at my hedging. I'm just going to show you a few things we've done to various hedging plants here. So here I've got my Phillyrea hedge. So I grew these from tiny little cuttings, and I made the hedge to hide the polytunnel that was there, because polytunnels are not the most beautiful thing in the world. And then the vegetable cage came there, which I actually quite like. And so I thought it's taking light. So I've been radical and just cut this down, and you can see how it looks. But with any hedging plant, they are hedging plants, and they will all grow back unless they are those fast growing evergreen conifers, which they don't, things like the thujas and things like that. But these will. So it looks absolutely mullered. But in a few weeks' time, it will be much nicer and green, and we'll have a nice low hedge, and we'll look across and get some light in. And while we're here, I just want to point out the Portuguese kale or cabbage. I haven't grown it before, but I have to say, in last year's hot dry summer. It had no water and it kept green, producing these lovely leaves. And I thought, well, the clue is in the name. It comes from Portugal, so it copes with dry, but does it cope with cold? But it's coped with our, albeit mild, winter we've had this year, and it's coming again. So I don't just use it for the traditional Portuguese kale soup, which they all know and love. I will make that one day, but I just use it like a spring green, like a kale, like leaves, and it's delicious. I just cook it with a bit of butter, tiny bit of water, like a dessert spoon, salt and pepper, and it's a wonderful vegetable. And we've been having it all through the winter. And so I'll just show you my next hedge round here, which I'm also mutilating. So this is my yew arch. This is not one that I've mutilated. It's forming a nice arch. I just put the cane across. I don't know if you saw that video. So I just pulled 2 branches across, tied them over a cane, and now we've got a nice arch, which sort of semi-screens this area, which I like. So come and look at my hornbeam. Now these hornbeam plants were given to me at a big size. They were left over on a job. And they went in July. They'd been left out of the ground for a good week or so. And so I'm surprised they've done so well. We didn't have enough to actually screen the whole end of the polycumul. So I planted them fairly spaced apart. But what I'm doing now is what people never do with hedges, is they always cut the sides and then the top when it gets to the height. But they don't cut the insides. And I want these plants to grow out and meet each other. So I'm cutting massively, you know, the growth follows the knife. Everywhere I cut, it's counterintuitive. These will branch and grow and form my screen to hide this ghastly looking but very useful polytunnel from us. So that's another job for this weekend. I'm going to come and shave them down the insides so they meet together and hide the polytunnel. Now I'll come and show you the next plant that I've mutilated. And for the last plants that I've heavily mutilated for now are these box plants. We put in a new replacement door coming out from the crypt, so it was easier to get out because it had 2 narrow doors and it was very old anyway. And we had these big bits of topiary either side, and now you can see beautifully out of the door. So I was going to pull them out, and then I thought I won't. I'll just chop them right back to nothing almost. And you see they are sprouting again. So now I'm going to probably just do little balls on the top of them. I'll see this is 2 and that's 1, so they're going to be a bit of an odd pair. But so what? But it's interesting to see how box grows back. And when I've had massive box blight in the past, I've just sheared it right down and let it grow again. Now, obviously, if you did that every year, it would be exhausted after a few years and that would be it. But it's doing very nicely. And I'm just going to see what shapes they form and what I want and so on. But I'll show you this area when we finish. It's still a building site. I've been doing quite a bit of work over winter. And we'll show you all when they're done. And then just one final thing is I'm having a go at my water lilies this weekend. Let me show you what I did. So this pool, I put in water lilies. When you put them in a basket, you put them in a basket with a very poor soil, aqua soil, some people call it, because if you put a lot of nutrients in it, then obviously you get a massive algal explosion. So you want poor soil. And after a bit, you can see, this is what happens. Actually, I ought to get the bread knife. Now then what happens is roots go out of the side of the basket and then the whole thing tips over. So what I did with the ones down there, and I haven't done with this one yet, is I just got a bread knife, a kitchen knife, or any old knife, and I just hacked off all these roots all the way around. And then the basket stayed up. Now every so often I go one step further, maybe every, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and I actually, gosh, look at that snail on them, and I actually take them out of the basket and I split them and then replant them in the basket using an aqua soil as well, a very poor soil. Otherwise, you see what happens, they just tip up and all the roots come out. I thought I'd done them all, but I obviously haven't done him, but I've done those, and they will settle down and then they will all grow the right way up this year. But these are quite a vigorous water lily, and I got them from, I think it was Stapleford Park many years ago. And so I've probably done this 4 or 5 times in the last 20 years. But this is Naturalistic here, which is Ethiopica, which is a lovely plant, which you often see. Actually, I've got some down there in the border, but they are very hardy when they're underwater as a marginal like this. And these are a really nice water plant. Anyway, those are just a few things in the spring garden. And at this time of year, you always get extraordinary weather, don't you? We have rain, sun, hail, snow, all together in a few minutes. But that's spring for you in the UK, and it's a lovely time to go gardening.